welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 23rd and 24th February 2025. So let's get started. So before getting started I want to make a small announcement, students. So here exactly we have around 90 days for your prelims 2025. So this is the right time to join this course, that is Target Prelims 2025 90 days program. So in this course we are going to give you daily topic wise test. There will be around 25 questions of each topic on the day wise based on that subject, and after that test we are also going to give you the video explanation. So that video explanation, so what are the static syllabus or static knowledge is required, so that knowledge is also going to be provided. And after one single subject test had been done, you will be getting full subject test, and after that full length test will be there. So this course is designed as per your UPSC standards and most of the questions that you can expect here. So if you join this course, what are the bonus you are going to get? You are going to get reading comprehensions, tips, videos by Puneet sir, and as well as tips and tricks to clear prelims, how to analyze the questions and how you have to eliminate the statements and how you can come up with a good, correct approach. So everything will be dealt by this Puneet sir. That videos access will be also going to get to you. And apart from that, monthly prelims oriented current affairs from June till your April we are going to provide as part of this course. So here we are providing that course both on online and offline. Online is around 4,500 and offline is 5,500 rupees. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call on the number that is 8074765513, and even you can come to institute, which is above Vikas Book Center, second and third floor, exactly opposite to sub registrar office, Ashok Nagar. Okay, so you can come and you can directly meet me, guys. So now let us see this today's important news articles. So actually yesterday also we didn't post this news analysis, right? So yesterday is Sunday, there is nothing much like very important articles there in our newspaper, and even in your science and technology page also there are not much relevant articles are there. So because of this I skipped yesterday's paper, and today we are going to see both together. So actually there is one article which is there regarding disaster. So that is there in the first page of yesterday's and as well as today's newspaper. It is nothing but, so in a tunnel in this Sri Shailam area, so there was a collapse happened, and in that collapse around 8 people they had been stuck down. So we are going to see that, especially if you're from AP and Telangana region, you need to know about that. Okay, so now apart from that, other articles are, let us see the title of first important article. So title says USAID funded 7 projects in India in financial year 2024, says report. So as you all know that, yes, tussle which is going on between India and USA also. So in that tussle, US President Donald Trump, he made a statement. He alleged that here USAID is funding for India regarding increasing of voter turnout. That means, so there is a foreign funding which is happening in our Indian democracy. So that is a statement which had been done, I think 2 days ago. And finally, our finance ministry came up with a report regarding in which projects this USAID had funded and how much amount. Okay, so this article is important from your international relations. So it is about your India US relations. So this article is important from India US relations. And apart from this, you have to see about this USAID. And next you have to see about democracy in India. So there are 3 important areas that you have to focus from this article, guys. So here India-US relations, where you will study in your GS paper 2 under international relations. And USAID, you can see about this organization, there is international funding, which comes under your GS paper 2 under governance. And especially in our last class, we discussed about some facts regarding this USAID. And now you have to see in which projects or schemes. So this USAID funded Indian schemes or projects that you have to see, and from these projects or schemes there is a chance of getting a question. And which one is democracy in India? It is nothing but GS paper 2 under polity. So actually what is allegation made? allegation is what are the funds under this USAID? They are used for increasing of voter turnout. Voter turnout or voter turnout related schemes. So they said this thing, right? So you have to see about what is this voter turnout. And normally the voter turnout in India will be like 65 to 70, not more than 70 even in some areas. So you have to see what are the reasons for reduced voter turnout in India and what are the steps government taken to control this. So that is very important because we have to see is there any link between this USAID and the steps taken by the government to increase voter turnout. If you say yes, there is no relation by these steps, then we can easily say that whatever the statement came up from USA is wrong statement. And it is not for the first time Trump did this. But even during this Trump 1.0 era also there was this kind of allegation on Russia's elections. So because of this, we have to be very much careful about this kind of allegations which made by other country in intervening of our democracy. Okay, and even here you have to see about Election Commission of India and what is the role of Election Commission in ensuring free and fair elections. Okay, so that is also the thing that you have to think, and you may get most of the question regarding this voter turnout here and even USAID. So now let us see the details which are given here in this article. So here in this fiscal year 2023 to 2024, United States Agency for International Development, that is USAID, has committed approximately how much amount, that is $97 million. So they spent around $97 million to fund 7 projects. Okay, so they are funding 7 projects in India. So these 7 projects are from various sectors. For example, some are from agriculture, food security, water, sanitation, hygiene, renewable energy, disaster management and health. In all these sectors, we have various schemes. So in that schemes, so under this USAID, we are getting funds. So what is the approximate amount of this funds? That is $97 million. So if you see some details, it mainly says that yes, from USAID, we are getting good amount of financial commitment. Okay, so here we are getting $97 million in this financial 2024, which reflects that we are getting strong investments, especially in India's development projects from US. So this funding is very much helpful for our country to improve infrastructure and as well as to improve certain important key sectors so that we will be having impact on our socio-economic development of our country. And next one is which are those essential sectors? Agriculture, food security, water, sanitation, etc. Because in these areas we are having lots of challenges. So with that funding we can overcome these challenges. It is very helpful for especially food security of our country. So if we are addressing this problem of food security, we can address the problem of hunger, malnutrition and the human capital, etc. And next one here is, so there is also some political controversy is going on because of misinformation. So here the political unrest which surrounding the claims that USAID is playing an important role in influencing voter turnout, that is in Indian elections. So there is some role played by this foreign thing, that is USAID. And there are some allegations that $21 million grant which is mainly used for increasing of voter turnout. So this is the one allegation made and India struck down this allegation. And here for this clarification on this voter turnout funding, here now Finance Ministry came up with a report, and this report came up with in which areas the funding had been done in which schemes, so that we are improving accountability and transparency in this foreign aid. Okay, so actually this USAID funding focused on long-term developmental goals, even including sustainable growth and as well as climate adaptation. But this report is saying that clearly we didn't use any of the funds come from this USAID. We are not used for anything regarding voter turnout. That is the thing which mainly said. And let us see the next article. Jaishankar, 45 foreign ambassadors interact with Tamil delegates at Kashi Tamil Sangamam. So here this article is very important, guys. The key word in this article that you have to see is Kashi Tamil Sangamam. Kashi Tamil Sangamam. So this topic is very important from your GS paper 1 under history. So where is this Kashi located? In northern part, and Tamil located in southern part. That means this article is saying that throughout our country we have lot of diversity, but there is a connection between north and south. So for that, here we came up with this Kashi Tamil Sangamam, and this year we had third summit. Okay, third meet we have. So because of this is in news. So now let us see some important details. So where this Kashi Tamil Sangamam third edition had been celebrated at Banaras Hindu University, and where is this located in Varanasi. So whenever you are reading your modern history also, you will be coming across with this Banaras Hindu University. So just see about some basic facts regarding this Banaras Hindu University, who founded that, so what are the important aims and objectives of this, through this university, who are the people historically important, they were studied in this. So see all those important background. So actually here in this event of third edition of this Kashi Tamil Sangamam, so External Affairs Minister and around 45 foreign ambassadors, they started engaging with Tamil delegates. So why they are having this kind of meets or editions of this event? Especially to celebrate connection of culture between this Tamil and as well as Kasi, that is nothing but Kasi and as well as Kanchipuram. So how they are having this culture connections. So they are celebrating this India's rich diversity through this editions. And this year we have third edition. So it had been started in 2021 first edition, 2022 or 3 I think second edition, and now it is third edition. So if you see some important details, what you have to remember is whenever we are having this kind of meets or this kind of events, so we will be getting an opportunity or a platform such that we can promote our culture exchange and even understanding of our rich diversity, and will also allows foreign representatives to engage directly with the Tamil culture, and as well as there will be the great appreciation of India's historical and as well as cultural narratives. So for the spreading of our culture, so we need to have this kind of platforms. And this one is we are mainly emphasizing on unity in diversity. Okay, so unity in diversity is one of the cornerstone of India's identity, right? So through these dialogues or through these events, we can highlight or we can strengthen our culture, language, tradition, so that we can coexist together with harmoniously. And this one is we are going to celebrate even heritage as well. So here, because of this third event, so we can understand that yes, we are celebrating heritage, and this will be helpful for preserving of our cultural practices, traditions, so that it is very much essential for providing of knowledge or awareness to the next generations. And this one is tradition is also very important in playing innovation as well. So there is even a link between the tradition and as well as modern technological advancements. So here our external affairs minister, he made a comment on how Indian universities, they are integrating our traditional knowledge, how they are integrating our traditional knowledge along with this cutting edge advancements in the technology, so that it will be very helpful for progressive approach towards education and as well as innovation. So if you see some facts regarding this Kasi Tamil Sangamam, so it coincides this year with this Mahakumbh of 2025 in Prayagraj. And because of this, it provides an opportunity to visit even Ram Mandir in Ayodhya for the first time post inauguration. And first edition started in 2022, sorry, it is 2022, and second one is 2023, and third one is in 2025. Okay, so actually what is the important thing that you have to remember from this is, so around 1000 delegates from Tamil Nadu across 5 categories like students, teachers, writers, farmers, artisans, professionals, entrepreneurs from SHGs, from innovation communities, they will be participating in this event. And also around 200 Tamil origin students from other central universities will also participating in that, so that we can make this event more diverse and as well as more engaged. And the central theme is legacy of sage Agastya. So I think you might have heard about this Agastya, especially in your history classes. So they are celebrating this legacy of sage Agastya through this event. And if you see about this Kashi Tamil Sangamam, it is a cultural initiative and we are celebrating the deep rooted historical and as well as cultural ties. And especially we are focusing on strengthening of our ancient civilization bond between Tamil Nadu and as well as Varanasi. That is nothing but Kasi. Okay. And what are the objectives? The first one is we have to share the knowledge. And second one is academic collaboration. And third one is we can promote our traditional crafts and arts to these events. And next one is we are trying to engage with the youth. Youth participation is very important. So all these are the important objectives of this event. And now let us see the next article. Title says Health Ministry bans export of drugs containing tapentadol and carisoprodol. So here you may not get direct mains question from this topic, but you may get a prelims question. So recently tapentadol, carisoprodol are seen in news. What are they? Every year you will be getting certain kind of questions regarding drugs for sure or chemicals. So they are nothing but they are the drugs which are mainly used for relieving of pain. Okay, here if you see in this paragraph you can understand tapentadol, it is an opioid medication and it is mainly used for relieving of pain. And second one is carisoprodol, it is a muscle relaxant. It mainly, these two drugs mainly works on the centers of brain and spinal cord to relieve pain. So because of this, it will be having a lot of side effects. So because of this, they went for banning of these drugs. Export of this, banning of export of this drug had been done. So just remember that tapentadol and carisoprodol, they are the drugs which are used for relieving of pain and they will directly act on your brain and as well as spinal cord. That's it. Now let us see the next article. So see here, first detailed map of moon's south pole made from Chandrayaan data. So as you all know that Chandrayaan, we have a series of satellites launch. Okay, that is nothing but moon missions or lunar missions. So Chandrayaan is related to lunar or moon missions. So which organization came up with this? That is ISRO. And here in this series of this lunar exploration, we have three: Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2, and Chandrayaan 3. So Chandrayaan 1 is success, Chandrayaan 2 is failure, and Chandrayaan 3 is again success. So here, finally, we are going to draw a map of this moon's south pole. Because of this Chandrayaan 3 which is success, now because of the data that we are going to get from this Chandrayaan 3, so we are going to have a first detailed map of especially moon's south pole. So because of this, this is the news. So here this article is important from science and technology, which comes under GS paper 3. And here you have to see about some facts regarding this Chandrayaan mission. And apart from this Chandrayaan mission of ISRO, you have to see other countries' space explorations on this moon. For example, Chang 4, which is of China. So like that, Japan's missions, like that NASA's mission, like that European Space Agency's missions. So many will be there regarding moon. So see that, because we had been success in this Chandrayaan 3. So like that, after this Chandrayaan 3 also, other countries also launched number of satellites for the studying of this moon. So see that, and what is their speciality, you have to know that. You may get a match the following question in your prelims from this area for sure. So now let us see the context here. So as you all know that moon is a sterile environment and it is also having craters. Craters is nothing but ditches. Okay, craters is nothing but ditches will be there on this surface of this moon, and these impact basins are important tools for scientists to calculate the age of geological features. So whatever the features that are present on the surface of this moon, if we are having this data, we can go for analysis and we can at least estimate about the what is the age of this surface. Okay, so as you all know that this Chandrayaan 3 had been landed very much near to the south pole, near a crater. So if you are getting the data regarding that crater, we can understand the age, approximate age of this moon surface. So now the researchers from this physical research laboratory from Punjab University in Chandigarh and laboratory, so they are going for analyzing the data which had been sent by the Chandrayaan, and they created a map using the data from rover. The rover is called as Pragyan. So this Pragyan rover sent the data. So based on that, they are creating a map. And by using this map, the scientists they calculated the age of the surface of this moon, this region to be around 3.7 billion years ago. So if you see what happened, what are the events that happened on the earth, that is around 3.7 billion years ago, was the formation of life. So the microbial life was emerged on the earth during this similar time when this moon was formed. So sadly that this lunar escape may not endure undisturbed for very long as efforts to colonize the moon get underway. So actually many countries they want to colonize this moon and they want to send this humans to the moon, and as well as they want to colonize this moon, they want to occupy moon. So but what happens here is, so we have to get the clear data of what the surface is, whether this water is present or not. If water is present, in which form this water is present. Normally water is present in three forms, like gas, like water, that is liquid, and as well as ice. So we have to see in which form this water is present, and is there any existence of life, whether there is a presence of oxygen or not. So if oxygen is present, so how much it is present, whether the atmosphere of this moon is influenced by this this gravitational pull of earth or not. So everything data we have to know. So after that only we can go for lunar littering. So that's the thing which mainly said, because already you know that moon is having very thin atmosphere. It is not having the thick blanket of atmosphere like earth, so that it may not helpful for the survival of humans. So we need to have the detailed study regarding that, and then only we can go for colonizing of moon. So that's the thing which mainly said here. And let us see the next article. So this article is about long-term currency swap. So here this article is talking about RBI's long-term currency swap was likely forced by financial volatility. So here from economy point of view, you have to see about what are the steps taken by RBI. So even you have to know about some basic facts regarding this RBI. So RBI formed under which act? That is RBI Act of 1934. And you have to see about the members of RBI. We have chairman. So who will be appointing this RBI chairman? And next you have to see about what are the roles and functions of this RBI. So you have to know about what is this monetary policy of this RBI, and you have to know about what is this monetary policy committee of this RBI. So how many members are there? Who is the chairman of this monetary policy committee? And how many other members will be there? Normally 6-member committee. So who will be appointed? Only 3 members will be appointed by the central government. So like that you have to see each and every data regarding this RBI for sure. Okay. And now here this article is saying that RBI took a recent decision. So what is the decision? To inject additional $10 billion, $10 billion into financial system through a dollar rupee swap auction. So finally here RBI wants to come up with this currency swap, that is against dollar. That means nothing but if they are giving dollar, we have to give in return rupees. That is called as currency swapping. So here you have to understand what is this currency swapping, and you have to see with which countries we are having this currency swapping agreements, and you have to see about what is the significance of this currency swapping. So if you do this, then your work is done. And even in your prelims also you may get a question regarding this currency swapping, because recently India came up with this currency swapping agreement with different countries. So here there is a very high chance of getting question regarding currency swapping. So if you see here, what is this currency swapping? Currency swapping agreement is nothing but two countries, they will come together and they will sign an agreement, and this agreement it is about the contract to exchange currencies. So whatever the currency they have, they will be giving that currency to India, and India will be giving in return rupee for that country. That is called as currency swapping. So here central banks and governments, they will engage in currency swapping. So here you can get a question like only central government can engage in this currency swapping. No, even RBI can engage that. So if you see this article, it is saying that RBI decided now to go for currency swapping. That means both central bank and as well as the central government, they have the power to engage in currency swapping, okay, with foreign counterparts to meet short-term foreign exchange liquidity requirements. And even it will be very much helpful for avoiding of balance of payment crisis also. So if you see what is significance of this currency swap agreements, first one is it will be helpful for relief of debt. So we are taking in dollars and we are giving in return money, so that we will be getting dollars so that we can pay the dollars for other countries where we have debt. Okay, so India's financial aid for that it will be useful. And even recently India came up with this currency swap agreement with this Maldives also, so that it will be helpful for avoiding of default and stabilizing of economy. And even geopolitical influence, we can control that. So India can counter this Chinese influence in this Maldives by strengthening its position in Indian Ocean region. And even for diplomatic relations also it will be useful. And even we can maintain financial stability. So for all these reasons, yes, currency swap agreements is very useful. And now let us see the next article. This article is about talent shortage, global challenge, India's opportunity. So this article is mainly talking about our global labor market. So in this global labor market, yes, there is a demand for the skilled workers, but here what happened? There is no proper supply. Okay, the demand for skilled workers is said to exceed supply, and India must move quickly to tap the needs in key geographies. So actually what happened? So if you see the international markets, like global markets, so there is increased demand for the skilled labor. But on another side, the supply is not there because of educational things they are following in their countries. Education standards, they are not up to mark. So because of that, what happened? So we are not creating skilled youth or skilled labor force. So because of this, we are having a problem now. So here this article is saying that India is going to have an advantage if they are going to take some steps. So here you have to understand how can we create more skilled workforce. What are the changes that we can take so that we can supply more skilled workforce, so that we can tap this global economy. So that is the thing which mainly said. So now let us see this article in detail. So the global labor market is facing a significant talent shortage. So we are not having skilled labor force. Okay, so there is a deficit of 85.2 million skilled workforce across the world. So you can see the number here. So there is a need of around 85.2 million skilled workforce. So because of this, now India can tap this potential by doing some changes. What are the changes we can do? So we can increase skill, especially government can train the people. Government can come up with some initiatives such that we can train this youth people so that we can increase the skill according to the demand of that so and so industry. And next one here is, yes, if you're going from region to region, for example, even in India, so if you come to the south, we are having good manufacturing industries like cement industries, like we have sugarcane industries, and we have textile industries. And if you go to east, we have iron and steel industries like that. So if you're moving from one region to another region, the demands for the skilled labor is changing. For example, if you want to work in textile industry, you need to have some skills. If you want to work in this construction sector, you need some other skills. So try to see like in which sector you need to work and which skills they need in that sector. And if you're focusing on that, obviously we can generate the skilled workforce. For example, the skills is different, who want to work in healthcare, who want to work in construction, who want to work in services, and who want to work in manufacturing. So based on that, we have to develop, and we have to understand the regional needs, and based on that we need to go for training programs, recruitment strategies, etc. And next one here is, there is also barriers regarding the skilled migration. There is nothing but if you're gaining skills here in India and if you want to move to other country, you need to get passport, you need to get visa. Again, there are some burdens. So here we have to see about what are the problems that we are having if we want to move from India to other countries, and we have to address those regulatory hurdles. We have to remove that. So how can we remove that hurdles? So if we want to send people from India to like France or Germany, so we have to have a good diplomatic talks with that country. and as well as international agreements, and we have to go for facilitating of smoother migration pathways, so that students or youth, they will be not getting that many hurdles. And next one here is, yes, we need to also think about what are the qualifications which are required. For example, if you want to do some work, so there is a need of qualification. For example, if you want to provide some healthcare services, you need to get the medical degree. So if you want to work in some other, yes, you need to have some degrees, right? So here we have to go for recognition of proper qualification, what is exactly required. So that here what happens, so what are the challenges which are faced by our Indian professionals, they will not have that challenges, so that they will can easily get the opportunities based on their required qualification. And next one here is, yes, we need to go for recruitment practices as well. So even we have lots of colleges, lots of universities, etc. in our country. So many students are not getting campus placements. So why? Because whenever there is any requirement in other countries, we are not giving the information to them regarding this in universities, regarding the skills that we have. So here, whenever we are going to have this final year and end of the course which is going to happen in our universities or colleges, we can talk with the other countries to come and to go for campus placements, so that we can also increase employment opportunities there. And even we have to go for sector specific training programs, like for example AI, internet of things, sustainability. So what is a skill that is required in that area, so we have to go for sector specific training programs. And even we have to promote circular migration also. That means if there is a time where they need or where there is a shortage of the labor, so we can send them to other country, and if the work is done again, they will be come back, so that we can focus on circular migration as well, without causing any demographic imbalances between the countries. Then this will be also very workful. And now let us see the other article. So here in yesterday's last class, I discussed about this olive redley turtles, right? So this is the period for the mass nesting. So lots of this olive redley turtles, they reached this Odisha's coast. So we have to see about what is this Rishikulya beach. And I want to give you one homework, guys. Homework is, so see some basic facts regarding this olive redley turtles, and you have to see about in which beaches this olive redley will go for mass nesting, which is called as Aribada, and see about protection status, like under IUCN, what is the status, under Wildlife Protection Act, and what is the status in the sites. So see that once. And you have to see what is the basic difference between tortoise and as well as turtle also. So let me know in the comment box. And there is one more article, guys. So this article is about dream of 20 lakh families to have their own home fulfilled under PMAY. This statement is given by our Amit Shah, Home Minister, right? So here you have to know about this scheme. What is that? Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So see some details about this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. We have two components here. One is rural and as well as one is urban. So this article is talking about rural component. So here why this article is news, because the first installment under this scheme had been transferred to 10 lakh beneficiaries in Maharashtra. So because of this, they are saying that yes, dream of 20 lakh families to have their own home had been fulfilled. So here you have to see about analysis part. So whether this scheme really achieved its objectives or not. So that is the thing that you have to think. Okay. And these are the very important articles that appeared in our today's and yesterday's Hindu newspaper. Apart from that, I didn't find much important thing. Okay, so focus more on prelims related articles now, because prelims is very near, right? And I hope you are practicing well and you already done with your previous question. So try to join this target prelims course, so that you will be getting much advantage. Okay, so don't forget. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call me on the number 8074765513. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and please do like this class and share this class, and don't forget to subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy.